nice to be. Yeah. What did the kids make you breakfast in bed, Liz?
They did not make me breakfast in bed. They were actually at their dad's house, but they come home and shower me with gifts. So that was nice.
That is a nice mix of having your quiet time and then having time. That is lovely. Wow.
That's usually what I want to stay is quiet. It's quiet. Just relaxation.
Relaxation is right.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hand me that paper off the printer. Oh, never mind. I get it.
Everybody dried out from yesterday? Councilman?
No flooding, so at least none reported. Keep our fingers crossed.
Bill, can you touch your mic real quick? I just want to make sure it's working. Can't hear you. And you're not muted, so I don't know if it's something on your computer that I need to turn up the volume.
How about now?
Perfect.
Hi, Bridget. All right, so it's 6:45. We'll call the meeting of the Fairview Park Board of Control to order. Director Costello, if you could please take the roll.
Absolutely. Councilmember Minnick?
Here.
Director of Law Riley?
Here.
Director of Finance Single?
Here.
Mayor Cooney?
Here.
And me, Mary Kay Costello.
Okay, prior to tonight's meeting, we had the minutes from the April 26th meeting of the Board of Control distributed. Are there any comments, questions, changes to those minutes that were distributed? If not, would accept a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Riley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved. So we'll move to tonight's agenda. The first item relates to the approval for city turf maintenance services. Director Costello.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request for approval for city public space turf maintenance services. This would be allowing for the application of product for our turf maintenance at Balkan, Grannis, Morton, Gemini, the stadium areas, Bain Cabin, Bain Play Pavilion, Nelson Rust Park. Weed Pro has submitted a quote which was reviewed by our certified operator, who is Mr. Matt Grandal. He holds a certificate in application of materials for turf maintenance, and he reviewed the proposal and determined that it was in the best interest of the city to secure these services, as they were highly competitive And he's actually, as an aside, maybe off the record a little bit, he is stunned that they can do all of the work that they proposed for the cost quoted, which was $10,063.75. And so this work will assist the city in controlling nuisance plants, as well as thistles and other plants that can impede programming and enjoyment of our public parks. Oh, and this these funds will be paid through the general fund. Mr. Minnick.
Okay, are there any questions about this item? Director, is this, we used WePro in the past, do you know?
WePro has been used in the past and has performed very, very well. The staff is very pleased with their services and the results.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? There being none, I would accept a motion to approve this item.
So made.
Director Single, is there a second?
Second.
Director Riley, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Items approved. Thank you. Director, the next item, engineering costs for installation of connector trail at Balkan Park.
Thank you, Mayor. This project is going to connect the existing walking trail that ends by the baseball diamond that's in the southeast corner of the park. And this installation was recently awarded a $50,000 grant from the Cuyahoga County Supplemental Grant Program. Estimates for the entire project total $59,746. The project requires a design and efforts to create bid packages and contracts by the consulting engineers at Cmaq Engineering, and their cost for these services are $9,300. Funds for this will be paid for through the Parks Improvement Fund.
Is that 230?
230.
Okay. Okay, any questions regarding this item?
Yes, Mayor. Director,
Yes.
is this going to be an asphalt path, same as the existing path now?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions with respect to this item? Okay, I would accept a motion to approve as submitted.
I move to approve as presented, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Single. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, items approved. I believe that completes the agenda. Is that correct, Director?
That is correct.
Okay, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So made.
I'll give it to Councilman Minnick. It was a tie, but I'll give him the motion and Director Single the second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're adjourned at 6:51. Thank you, Director. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, shit. Damn it.
Greg, you're not muted.
Okay, 7 o'clock. Prior to starting our city council committee meetings for Monday, May 10th, 2021, I'd like to ask our clerk, Liz Westbrook, if anybody submitted a request to speak this evening.
No, I did not receive any requests to speak.
Thank you, Liz. I'd like to call the Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, and Development Committee order at 7 p.m. 2 items to be discussed this evening. Ordinance 2131. An ordinance authorizing Mc Engineering and Surveying Company, the city engineer, to prepare plans and specifications and provide construction, administration, inspection, and bidding services for the installation of sidewalks and declaring an emergency. Director Costello, do you want to give us a synopsis of this legislation?
Thank you very much. So we're asking for plans and specifications for a project that will connect our community to the proposed trail that was recently awarded to the Cleveland Metro Parks. This project will include sidewalks on Eaton from Mastic to West 210, but importantly, will also include road improvements for the intersection where West Point, Park Cliff, and Eaton all meet. Currently, it's an extra wide intersection that a lot of drivers feel comfortable kind of rolling around the corner. It's a hot spot for complaints for stop sign non-compliance. I don't know if that was going on in Councilman Minnick's heyday, but that is some of the feedback that we hear from this intersection. So we want to create a safer pedestrian crossing by pulling that and constricting that intersection so that the pedestrians don't have as far to walk. And the pedestrians will also have a higher visibility. So those are going to be some of the things that the engineers will be working on in their design. These costs will be paid from the capital improvement and Roads Fund 811. And I think that's all of my synopsis on that particular project.
Thank you. That was also years ago referred to as Gilligan's Island, where the cement island was in the middle of the intersection.
Oh, good to know. Thank you.
Any additional questions from members of council?
Yeah, I have a kind of an indirect question, not exactly about the legislation, but so I was driving and I saw they in the metro parks, they had a road to be expected to be closed and there was a date. I can't remember the date. I think it was this month. Is the footpath connection occurring this year?
I doubt it. That is currently closed to complete the road work. So there's some temperature dependent work that needs to be done with staining and sealing some of the concrete. There's some landscaping, there's some fencing, and there's road markings that need to be completed. So that work, it requires the road to close, and it's a completion of the actual reinstallation of the road and bridge. We haven't had any proposed timelines for the trail for the pedestrians. So we'll keep you informed as we hear.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all I have.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Greg. Any additional comments? There's no time frame on this, Director Costello?
Well, we would like to get moving on it for a project completion this year. That is our goal. We're going to try our best to get it completed this year.
Thank you. And I move that this ordinance be placed on second reading and subsequent third reading. As Council President Bain and Councilwoman Adler are not present this evening, Ryan?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2132, alike and similar to the ordinance 2131. And this is the ordinance to authorize the Director of Public Service and Development to advertise for bids and a mayor to enter into a contract with the lowest responsive and responsible bidder as determined by the Board of Control to install these new sidewalks and curbs and curb ramps in the southeast section of the city. Director Costello, anything additional?
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. I would only add that the project is a result of the Cuyahoga County City Municipal Grant Program. We're very proud of our community planners' efforts to secure this grant. The grant totals $150,000, and we anticipate our project costs being around $130,200 in that general area.
Thank you. Any additional comments? I move that this ordinance 2132 be placed on second and subsequent third. Brian?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Thank you. That completes the Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning Development Committee meeting. Okay, Sarah.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. The Local Government and Community Services Committee meets tonight beginning at 7:06 p.m. I've invited Director Kemp here tonight from the Rec Center because we did, when we had first met with him in committee last fall, we had talked about having a spring-summer check-in. And I think that this was a great time for us to discuss several issues that we have in committee, which his department touches. So Director Kemp, I welcome you this evening. We're going to be talking about 3 different issues, but the first one is Gemini Center memberships. And I wondered if you had an update for us on how memberships are going this year compared to last year, how you're feeling, how the benchmarking is going. This is not a hard, fast interview, but more so we're just asking for an update. And I wondered if you could let us know how things are going.
There we go. All right. Hello, Councilwoman. Hello, Council. Just a few things that I did email over to you all earlier today, kind of a snapshot look at the last 4 years, first quarter membership totals for Gemini Center, just for your reference and to take a look at. You'll notice that we are, down quite a bit. And, much of that can be attributed to the pandemic and, everything that has gone with that. The closure that we had from, March through June of 2020, that was a big opportunity for us to, generate some revenue through membership renewals and new memberships. And then the subsequent putting memberships on hold and increasing or extending the expiration date for all memberships 3 months to make up for that time that we were closed. We are starting to see some of that renewal coming in now from that 3 months. It's still kind of too early to get a good picture of that, as April is going to be the whole month of April and parts of May are going to be where we can really see things. So what I've given you guys is kind of the first quarter through the end of March as far as our numbers are concerned. We do plan on getting, more data and continuing to analyze more data. Really, that's what it's going to take. I just don't think we've had enough time to really get a good idea of what the trend is going to look like moving forward as far as how many people are going to be renewing. One of the great things that we're seeing right now, though, is we are running about 10% higher than our projections for 2021 were. So that's good news in this, but it's still, a far cry from where we were in 2019, which is kind of the last big benchmark year that we could look at. The industry standard that we're seeing right now, and we're pretty much falling right in line with it, is about 50% of the user rate coming back. Hopefully, we see a little bit higher as we continue to move out of this pandemic and get, more people in here. And one of the great things that we're seeing is more use of the building. Our admittance numbers are going up. We're getting ready to hopefully introduce guest daily passes in early June, which will give us another opportunity to get some newer, fresher faces in here, and hopefully an opportunity to see some more memberships being purchased through that as well. But really at this point in the year, it's really kind of tough to forecast what the trend is going to look like for the rest of 2021.
Thank you. I know, I don't know if other members of council have been receiving this feedback, but first of all, I can tell you we've had a lot of happy campers over the showers reopening and childcare reopening and the whirlpool reopening. Lots of happy people in Fairview the last couple of weeks as we've been offering more and more services and starting that return to normal. Do you believe that we are close to returning hours to what are considered normal, returning services back to normal, or are we still kind of a long way from that? Because that will affect membership.
It really depends on the service and the program. Most of our programming is back to normal. Our rentals, we anticipate starting our rentals in June for our indoor spaces. So that's really going to help with getting new people in here and hopefully selling some memberships. Our hours, we're anticipating, looking at increasing some of our hours during the weekends, during the summer. The 8 p.m. time, at least through the end of the summer, Monday through Friday, will probably remain the same, just based off of past usage rates prior to the pandemic. during the summers, but there definitely looks like there's a need to increase hours on weekends, and that'll hopefully help with rentals as well, having people in the building and being able to extend those hours to give people a chance to rent for parties, bridal showers, baby showers, those type of things. So we are anticipating that, and that will hopefully, translate into more memberships. And like you mentioned earlier, things like we're opening right now, the hot tub, the kids club, our showers, I think are going to be a big indicator of some of the renewals that we're going to see. A lot of our folks, that especially those that work out in the morning prior to work, haven't been renewing their memberships and haven't been purchasing memberships because they need a place that they can shower, need a place that they can do those workout in a shower prior to heading to work. So hopefully we'll see that start meaning an uptick in our memberships. Our programs, I've been very impressed with our numbers, especially our spring sports of baseball of soccer and volleyball. We saw over a 22% increase from our 2019 numbers, which is impressive to me. It's an indication that people are ready to start getting back to normal. Our safety town just filled today. Our summer camps programming is moving along as we thought it would. So our program numbers are really trending up, which is such an important aspect of getting continued people, getting the renewals, getting more people into the building and the Gemini Center. So all these things are really trending in a positive fashion.
That's great. I will tell you, after I posted the agenda today, several people made sure to say, hey, let them know the pool needs to be open on Saturdays longer. And as a working mom, yes, that's the day I would take my kids. So heads up. Next thing we're looking for is a pool, but I'm glad we have the whirlpool and the showers open. That's amazing. Council, does anybody have any questions for Director Kemp regarding how the rec center is proceeding, how we will be performing financially? As you remember, this eventually, Gemini Center memberships is generally how we get to the point of what we will charge in following years. In December, we passed legislation with the membership rate. So everything that we're thinking about here is how is it performing relative to operations and money, and are we at least breaking even?
I have a couple of questions. It may not be directly centered at that, but it's regarding the demos for the that rope climber and the treadmill. I was wondering, have you gotten decent feedback? What has the feedback been? How long is the demo period going to be? And is it looking like those items are going to be purchased?
Thank you have you checked them out yet, Councilman?
I have not. I'm going to, but to this date, I have not yet.
All right. Well, I hear the rope climber is definitely a hot ticket item up in the Gemini Center. I haven't tried it out yet, mainly because I want to continue working throughout the day, and I'm afraid if I try that out, I'm going to have to go home with some kind of injury. But we've been getting some very positive feedback on the rope climber. It's something that we're looking for if the price is right. I think we would love to be able to add new and fresh items to our repertoire that we have up there. The treadmill, for the feedback we're getting, most all of it is positive and the people really like it. We are looking at upgrading all of our cardio equipment this year, and we're kind of trying some different equipment here and there to try to get that feedback as to which type of cardio equipment they would like and which company that we want to try to work with based off of that feedback. So we are getting positive feedback on both of them. Really what it's going to come down to is, the budget and what we're able to do. We were, budgeted for leasing, all of our cardio equipment. And if we're able to fit that rope climber into that offering that we're able to do, I think that's the one that I'm getting the most awesome feedback on. So I really appreciate that. We're probably going to be demoing that equipment through the end of this week, and then it ships off to another rec center for them to look at it as well. If I can try to get another few days out of it, I will. But when they roll up with the truck, we're kind of stuck with their timeline on that. So it is going really well, though. Thanks for asking.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the update. Wednesday, I'm gonna be there.
All right, I gonna count on seeing you there.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Council, any further questions for Director Kemp? Okay. I do appreciate you giving us this update on memberships. We definitely want to make sure we're monitoring that. It's been one heck of a year for everybody, but especially for our rec center here. So I do appreciate that. So just to say that we are monitoring and we don't have enough data yet to really see what our trends are. So we'll probably check back with you in the fall on Gemini Center memberships. One of the other issues that I wanted you to join us for as it relates to
Sarah?
Oh yes, go ahead.
You take a motion on this item. It's in your committee.
Oh, thank you, Councilman, for keeping me honest. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to keep this item in committee, Gemini Center memberships in committee. Bill?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Sarah, yes. Okay, passes 5-0. Thank you. We also wanted to talk a little bit about Bain Park preservation. And I'll be honest with you, Director Kemp, most of this precedes my tenure as the head of local government and community services. So we know it precedes yours. So what I wanted to do was just say, if we haven't addressed this in the last 3 years, let's take a quick walk through what's going on at Bain Park. And then we can decide as a committee whether or not we think we need to leave it in here because we have items up and coming. So Director Kemp, if you'd like to give us an understanding of what you see happening at Bain Park, if anything, this year, that would be helpful to our understanding.
I wonder if it would be appropriate that I bring Director Costello in to talk about some of these things as she's precedes me and a lot of the planning and things that are going into place. So may I turn some of this time over to Director Costello, please?
Absolutely.
It's nice to be the wily veteran for a change. It feels great. So thank you, Director Kemp. So we are excited. We've already talked about the erosion control measures for Bain along the creek, along Coe Creek. Very excited about that. Very excited about the restroom. Really excited about the Nature Works. Spoiler alert to the legislation. Sorry, Council Member King. But so a lot of things. It's a great question because there's a lot of things that we see going on. And I think Director Kemp's alluding to some other maintenance items, our efforts to make sure we maintain the facilities that we have. So we would like to see some of our personnel perform some tuck pointing if that's something that's not moved outside of our ability. I haven't had a real chance to evaluate that, but we'd like to see if we could clean some of the stone about the pavilion. And we are going to be monitoring the Bain cabin roof. That slate roof is fragile, and so we will continue to monitor its status. In addition, we're doing a little maintenance work on the gazebo. So we're going to be switching out some of the wood posts with plastic posts that will last a little longer and look nicer. But you won't see any aesthetic differences. It's just going to be prettier and cleaner and easier for us to maintain. And then in general, we just look forward to having our lawns maintained. And thank you very much for considering today, Councilman Minnick, some of the efforts that we'll use to manage the turf. That's very important to us. And I'd just like to send a shout out to the service crew. They've really done a nice job with wood chips. You know, when Mother Nature hands us a snowstorm that breaks branches, our crews make a walking path out of that. So it's been really a nice improvement, really makes walking through the wooded area very easy and safe. So thanks.
Council, does anybody have any, or I guess Director Kemp, do you have anything to add to that, or did Director Costello do a great job?
Well, I thank you, Director Costello. That was a great job. No, I don't have much to add. I think what I'll add to the Bain Park preservation will come more in the playground section once we get to that. But no, I appreciate all the hard work that our service department is doing and upgrading and working and doing the things that we need to do to keep all of our parks in great condition. And Bain Cabin is going to be a challenge due to its historical nature and some of the things that are going on with that building right now, in particular the roof. So yes, thank you, Director Costello and the service department on that.
Okay. So my first inclination is to make a motion to remove this from committee, given that what it sounds like is we're talking about some maintenance and some projects that are related to legislation. But I do worry a little bit about the roof if there's going to be an option or an issue that maybe we need to talk about later. Do you guys see that coming up where we're going to have to discuss it without legislation in the next couple of months? Or do you foresee that just being a general monitoring?
I hope it's a general monitoring, but I'll leave that up to the mayor to make the final analysis on.
Yeah, Madam Chair, based on the nature of it, it's something we're keeping an eye on, and if it's we can in the short term, I see it as being general monitoring. If there's anything else, we would obviously come to you with legislation.
Sarah?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't see any issues with removing it from committee.
I think I agree with you. There's a lot of great work being done in Bain Park right now, but most of it either doesn't need discussion by this body, or we're seeing that come through in legislation so that we can discuss it under that manner. So I'm going to make a motion to remove this item from committee. Bill?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Sarah, yes. Passes 5-0. Okay. All right. So Director Kemp, let me turn you over to city playgrounds. This is one of our most favorite topics. I will say that this city is a fantastic place to be raising a family because we have playgrounds on every single corner. So I guess I wondered what you had coming down the pike for us with playgrounds, what kind of things we might be discussing, and find out if there's a need to leave this in committee as well.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I agree with you about the playgrounds and this being kind of a fun topic. I enjoy walking the parks as much as I can and checking the playgrounds out and having my kids be our official testers and give me their ideas on things. So there are, some, a few things that we need to do with our playgrounds just from a general upkeep and maintenance type thing. So, looking at the playground surface and repairing some of the equipment that, through use and abuse by all the kids that are out there. So some of the general maintenance that needs to take place on a few of our items of equipment, primarily, our Bain Park. We have a couple issues with some slides right now that we're looking to address here in the short term, looking at getting some new parts to fix some of the sections of the slides, just the general maintenance of, weeds and the playground surface and the wood chips and trash cans and those type of things. So those are all kind of on our mind, daily as we're looking at each of our playgrounds. Some of the things coming down the pike, I think it was alluded to a little bit earlier. We're looking at applying for a NatureWorks grant for Bain Park, and in an effort to upgrade our playground equipment there. So that is the park that we've identified with our oldest and equipment that is due for, an upgrade and kind of a renovation and a facelift, if you will. So we're already starting to meet with some of our, providers of playground equipment and, manufacturers, salespeople, and looking at some ideas and getting some mock-ups and some quotes in place, and we'll be applying for a grant here shortly to, hopefully give us some of those much needed funds to help us upgrade Bain Park and make it a fresh new playground, and give all of our residents and patrons that come to our parks a brand new set of equipment. So that's kind of coming down the pike, if you will, here soon, as far as the background work that's going into that. As far as any kind of time frame for completion or breaking ground or anything like that, that's still too soon to look to that.
Okay. Council, does anyone have any questions for Director Kemp regarding playgrounds, things that might be on your mind? Or go ahead, Greg.
Thanks. The Bain Park, as you talked about the damaged ones, and you're looking at some parts, is there any timeline of when either repairs or replacements or fixes or whatever's going to occur?
We're having trouble getting contact made with the manufacturer of that particular piece of playground equipment with the slides. We need to find something that will fit with that equipment that's there. We've reached out again to the company, and hopefully we'll hear something back soon from them as far as trying to get a couple of different sections. At worst, I think we may have to look into removing the slides and figuring something else out. Luckily, we still have a lot of playground options and a lot of slides throughout both Bain Park, or throughout Bain Park and all of our parks having slide options. But we want to try to move as quickly as we can on this, and we're just trying to make that contact with the company that provided that equipment.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
So my inclination again on this one is to go ahead and remove it from committee. It sounds like some of the changes that are coming down, anything that is major, we will be seeing legislation for, including this NatureWorks project. And obviously for maintenance, you can always let us know what's going on, but I don't see any major issues that we need to have continued conversation on. So I'm going to make that motion to remove city playgrounds from committee. Bill?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Sarah, yes. Passes 5-0. Okay. Okay. Director Kemp, we really appreciate you coming today to give us this primer, both on the memberships and where we stand with the rec center, and also helping us to evaluate some of these issues that we've had in committee for quite some time, and probably don't necessarily need to be there. So I do appreciate your time this evening, and Director Costello, same to you. Thank you so much for giving us the background that you gave us. So that being said, unless anybody else needs Director Kemp tonight, you can stay, you can leave. We're good. I don't want to take up your entire evening, but thank you for coming this evening.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I enjoyed it. Good luck with the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay. The last thing to discuss in my committee, if I can scroll to it on my agenda a little faster, is the ordinance 2133, which is an ordinance amending section 92906 of chapter 929 entitled Solid Waste Collection Charges of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Fairview Park and declaring an emergency. So this has been requested by the Finance Department. So I don't know, Director Single, if you'd like to give us a understanding. I know this is related to our garbage fees, where we did pass the Republic contract last week or the week before. Can you give me an understanding if these fees are changing or if it will be the same fee and we're just changing the date?
My understanding is the fee is not changing. We're just changing the date. The current collection charge expires at the end of 2021. So the charges would have to be filed to the county by the second Monday in September. So this is just getting the legislative process started. But as of right now, the charges are not going to change. They'll stay at $10 per month.
Okay. So if the only change is that we are adjusting from 2021 to 2022, can I just clarify, these are collected in advance, right? So 2020 collects 2021, 2021 collects 2022?
These are not, these are current
Okay.
charges. So for example, if the charges did not continue into 2022, there would be no collection in 2022. These charges aren't collected in arrears.
Okay. Thank you for that. So given that we did pass the Republic contract, and given that it is in the city's best interest to continue this garbage fee, given that we've entered into that contract, does anybody have any questions? Or Director Costello, do you have anything you'd like to weigh in, or Mayor?
I have a question, Sarah.
Yes, go ahead, Bridget.
Our current contract with the Republic expires June of 2022. So what if we go with a different company and the prices will be higher? Are we saying that we will not be charging anyone any additional fees then for the whole year?
Mayor, you want to respond?
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say, if nothing changes, the general fund would subsidize whatever the difference would be. So this charge would be in effect for all of 2022.
Okay. So then next year when we do the budget, we would have to allow for extra money in the general fund because we know that garbage is going to go up.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on this? It's a tricky subject per Bridget's conversation. We know we're going into a negotiation year for how we are going to move forward with these services. And I guess we'll have to see. I guess there is always the option that we could change ordinances mid-year and reissue, repeal and replace, right? But that's probably not what we'd want to do to our residents, but it is an option. Any other questions or comments on this one?
If I may, real quick.
Yes, go ahead.
So if the charge is going to be applied through the tax duplicate, the time to do it is prior to this second Monday in September. Because once it's filed, it can't be changed for another year.
Mm. Thank you. That's very important to understand. So then, yes, the general fund will need to be budgeted for in accordance with what we anticipate the increase would be. Director Costello, do you have a sense for when we will start to understand what our costs will be? Will it be before the end of the year, or do you suspect that we won't know until mid-spring?
Well, I'm putting together a report regarding recent bids to show some trends to City Council. And that should be ready before next week's council meeting. Also, I think it's going to be an interesting time to look at garbage. There's some interesting things going on with competition. I think there's some interesting things that may happen as a result of that competition. So I think that while we'll watch very carefully these trends, we may see a bid possibly. That's one of our options that we should really seriously consider. As you all know, we piggybacked off of Parma Heights in the past, and that is also certainly an option. If Parma Heights has the inclination to go to bid and those prices are really competitive, we have that option to piggyback off that contract as well. So we have options available, and I think as we move through this year, there'll be very clear pathways to go as we get more information.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or comments on this piece of legislation? Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to put this on second and return to committee, given that Council President and Councilwoman Adler are not here this evening, and I'd like them to have the opportunity to weigh in or ask questions if they so desire. So a motion to put this on second and return to committee. Bill?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Sarah? Yes. So passes 5-0. Okay, and so that means we can end local government and community services at 7:40 p.m. Thank you so much for your time to everyone who participated in the conversation tonight.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Finance Committee will begin at 7:40, and we have a lot to go over. First, Ordinance 2134, accepting awards and authorizing administration for the 2021 County Tree Canopy grants. So we have been awarded grants, and this is just to accept the funds. Two different grants, $46,012.57, and then for Tri-City, $26,999.29. And this has been requested to be passed on emergency so that we can get going on the project. Does anyone have any questions, or Director Costello, do you have anything to add?
I think that was great. Thank you very much. You hit all the high notes. Thank you.
Any questions at all?
Councilwoman King, if I may.
Sure.
So I'm seeing that we will be planting trees regionally with Westlake and Rocky River, and they're basically stating that they will be on certain roads. Are we planting these in tree lawns? Are they being planted in the parks? What is the general location of these trees?
Excellent. In Tri-City Park, there will be some trees along the Delmar roadway. There will also be some trees along the access road from Westwood. And then there'll be like groves of trees planted in areas where there's no programming. So in Tri-City Park, it's mainly around the perimeter of the park so that programming in the center part for soccer and lacrosse can still be feasible. For the city grant, we are going to be surveying residents on Elizabeth, Briarwood, Overlook, and Marion for tree lawn trees or street trees. And we'll also be planting larger varieties in the Bain Park area, again, sensitive to the playground and pavilion area in future programming, but We definitely look at this as an opportunity to increase our percentage of large variety trees, which our recent report from Jason Knowles showed us we were a little low. We could really improve, and with the support of STAC and their great guidance on varieties, we came up with some really interesting new diverse species or varieties to plant, which is really great for our canopy and our tree health. So that's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may follow up with two separate questions. The first question is, you said that you were going to survey residents on those streets. I assume we're hoping that we will get enough people to claim these trees, but I assume also if we don't get them to claim, we will choose where to put them as the city owns the tree lawn, right?
Well, what we'd like to do is have that residents buy-in. They'll help make sure that those water bags are full and ensure the success of the tree. We will, if we don't meet our 50 lawn tree quota from those streets, we'll certainly ask our partners at Cuyahoga County if we can plant trees in the public, on public facility or public grounds. So I think we'll be afforded some flexibility. Our goal is to increase our canopy, increase our diversity, and really make a beautiful addition to our community.
Thank you. And one more, what I'm sure is an obvious question. We are planting native species to the area, correct?
Well, there's some interesting species that perform well. Most are native to this area. There's just a few that aren't invasive, but may not have originally started. There's a Kentucky coffee tree that we're looking at that's really a successful tree. So and then quaking aspen. So I think most are considered viable as, as much as our native plants, but it's really a conscious decision to diversify our species so that we don't see any whole-scale removal if there's a pest or like an emerald ash borer. So yes, most of the species are native is the short answer.
Thank you, Director Costello. Thank you for the time, Councilwoman King.
Of course.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you. Mary Kay alluded to it earlier, but Jason Knowles was a certified arborist, conducted a very extensive survey of our tree canopy, and we had a lot of recommendations on species, locations, really throughout the whole city. So in the event that people are not comfortable having a tree planted, as the director alluded to, we can go back to the county with some possible other locations on our property, or maybe some of those adjacent streets, due to the fact that we have such an extensive survey by our arborists. So I know the county is, very proactive in trying to increase tree canopies, and that's something that, in the event we don't have the interest we anticipate, we'll look for others to satisfy that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bridget, I have a question.
Sure.
Mary Kay, how were these particular streets selected? It looks like there's six streets.
That is an excellent question also. So when we were researching our community, we saw that there was in the green print system that the county has, there was a low canopy for this area. We also wanted to make some large species plantings, and we thought what a great opportunity to have that contractor adjacent to this neighborhood, to Bain Park, and plant in the neighborhood so close by. So it's a economy of scale and efficiencies, as well as, checking off a box to add canopy where there's currently not as much as we'd like, And again, that very important diversification of our varieties. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking.
Okay, and so is it 4 streets, Elizabeth, Overlook, Briarwood, and Marion? Because then how it reads, it says, and 50 trees in Bain Park, and I know there's a Bain Park Drive, but Bain Park Drive isn't anywhere close, isn't really close to these streets. So is it just the 4?
Elizabeth, Briarwood, Overlook, and Marion. So they're somewhat adjacent. I mean, not right next to, but it's close enough to really be efficient for planting and the contractors.
Yeah, I guess I was asking that this doesn't include Bain Park Drive on it.
No. It's just right. Elizabeth, Briarwood, the streets between 220 and Bain.
Okay.
And
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
great.
Bridget,
Yes,
Director Costello, will this be mentioned at the Shade Tree Advisory Council meeting on Thursday?
So that is very kind of you to mention our Shade Tree Advisory Committee meeting this week. Thank you. They have discussed this. They were participatory in the grant application and were of great assistance to us. So we were able to announce to them at a special meeting they had in April. A little later in April, we had a special meeting, April 22nd. And so they were very happy to hear. One of their goals is to meet some of the standards that Jason Knowles has placed in that report we discussed. So that was really checking off a big goal for them. So yes is the short answer. Yes, we've talked about it, and we will continue to involve them in this process.
Thank you.
all right, any other questions? Then I'd like to make a motion that this be passed on emergency after second read. Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I'm going to vote yes, and Greg?
Yes.
Okay, passes 5-0. Next up is 2135, authorizing application and administration for the 2021 CMAQ application. Mary Kay, would you like to discuss this?
I would. Thank you so much, Councilmember King. Cmaq stands for Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality. This is a grant that we are going to apply for, leveraging the Lorraine Road studies that have been completed. There's more than just the TLCI project that was completed. And what we'd like to see is to have our signals communicate with each other so that we can efficiently move traffic. We are just wrapping up a very successful CMAQ project on Center Ridge. I think if you drive around Linden, you'll see some new poles. They're going to be doing some interesting things with painting poles. So not only will traffic move in an efficient way, in a safe way, it'll also change the look a little bit of some of the intersections. We are also in this Lorraine Road CMAQ looking to see if we can have guidance on new signal technology. There are signals that use radar and other technologies that are somewhat new to me as well. So we'll be looking for passage award of this grant to help us also secure a traffic engineer, help us with design and looking at every mode of transportation. One of the priorities we'll have in this application is to improve pedestrian amenities. I think if you look in the section where the streetscape was completed, some of those pedestrian bump outs really improve the line of sight for the pedestrian. It really brings the driver awareness to pedestrians up into a new and safer level. So we want to look at things like that as well. We look to the future where we think that Lorraine Road will be getting some pavement in the near future, and we want these things in place so that we can also straighten out that meandering lane marking that kind of happens in our central civic district, and have all of those things ready so that we can be prepared for the day, and hopefully work with our MPO NOACA to maybe move that paving along, and hopefully this can help leverage getting some of that in. I think you can all relate to some of the repairs that have been made, and it's not the smoothest ride. You know, there's some issues that just develop over time. It's a truck route, a state route. It's busy, many schools located. It's something we're really excited to implement for the future. So thank you, Council Member King, for that time to.
Sure. In this ordinance, it says that they would be covering 80% and we would do 20%, but do you have any estimates of what the total costs would be?
We're currently working through those estimates. You know, we've been vacillating back and forth as to whether we should do the whole street or just a section of the street. And, you know, I hope by our next meeting, I'll have a stronger response for you. We're buttoning down that it's going to be, I think, the whole length of Lorraine Road in our town. So that's really going to, you know, change that estimate. Our engineers, our consulting engineers are working on that for us as we speak. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
Bridget,
Yes.
Director Costello, is there a maximum that we're allowed to ask for?
I am not aware of any caps, but we do want to stay competitive with other projects. I think ours really rises above others because our TLCI project has some traffic counts and a little base for the traffic engineering, and you know, being on a state route, I think it all makes for a very competitive grant, but we want to be reasonable as well. So the scope might change a little as we see these estimates come in, and we'll make adjustments to stay as competitive as we can.
Thank you, because Center Ridge is still congested. Thank you.
Only at Glenbar. That was just no, but you know, we don't have those. That's a good point though, Council Member Minnick. We don't have those signals completely at 100% operation. So that is something to watch for as that system comes into 100% operation. I think you will see some better movement and some incremental improvements. So looking forward to hearing us check back with you on that in the future.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, Mary Kay, was there any chance that included in this would be for the signals to look at the technology, if it may or may not be even possible, to have the lights on Lorraine Road? I know we've discussed this in very early and very late hours go to blinking. Because I know there's, so it was looked into to see if the rewiring could happen in the current, and I know it's tied into the emergency system with Fairview Hospital. So there's some issues with that, and I was just wondering if there's any chance that might be something to identify with this.
I think that's an excellent point. It does, I am sure, plays into reducing pollutants in the air because you can keep traffic moving a little bit more efficiently. So the short answer is yes. I'm very excited to see, and that's, you know, another part of signals that will communicate with each other. I think that all of this technology will make for not just a safer environment, but a cleaner, better air quality environment. So short answer again, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that would be wonderful for people that, travel very early and very late. So that's the only question I have. Thank you.
Councilwoman King, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Costello, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions because I think for anybody who has walked the city, or especially walked the city during October and November of 19 when Lorraine Road was under construction and the Lorraine Road study was going on and everybody assumed we were making these changes that we're starting to talk about now. This is a very controversial, potentially topic, not necessarily the light signalization. I think everybody in town is on board for light signalization optimization, right? But when we talk about lane efficiencies, optimized signalization, we all are for. But then the installation of pedestrian and bicycle amenities. Can you tell me how this relates to the Lorraine Road traffic study and the options that were presented in that particular study? And also, if for whatever reason, we as a council allow you to go after this grant and then we disagree with whatever the final recommendations of this grant are, what are the, repercussions should we just ultimately deny this grant, which is not ideal for our city. But I want to be sensitive to the fact that this is a very sensitive issue for our citizens.
Right. So it's something that we are very sensitive to. We are going to make sure that at least one public hearing, not outside of the public meetings that, we'll discuss the implementation of the project with you, but at least one meeting that would accommodate residents coming to the Gemini or the Dunson room to actually have input because of some of the past history during the TLCI study itself. I think that actually having a signalization system that can show people, there's a really great technology that can model the signals, and they'll actually have, it looks like a video game, but it'll actually have a car that is represented at a certain speed, and it will show adding traffic at intersections and how those traffic signals would work. So there's options to show people very visually how the signalization can handle traffic and move traffic, but still remain at a pace that's good for our local businesses. We don't want people zooming by. We like them to travel at a safe pace, but also be aware of our great business partners along Lorraine, and to give our pedestrians a chance, our school children opportunities to cross safely. So I think that's a really big part of this project, is to take serious time with our residents and use even, up-to-date technology to show the efficacy of what we're going to do. And just to answer your point, if this isn't something that our community thinks is sustainable or safe or conducive to their use, then that's really a point that we would have to acknowledge and make a part of whatever results this grant funding would give us. But our goals are for safety, pedestrian safety, and we have Fairview Park General Hospital that all of our neighboring communities have to use this area to get their patients to the hospital. So those are the things that are really going to be the driver in our estimation for this project.
Thank you.
I hope that answers the question.
It does. I think we will probably have a lot more discussion about this, and we will hear from a lot of residents. But I think, like I said, optimized signalization, we can all stand behind.
Right. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Then I'd like to make a motion to have this on second read and remain in committee. Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
I'm going to vote yes. And Greg?
You're on mute, Greg.
Sorry, yes.
Okay, that passed 5-0. Next up is Ordinance 2136, authorizing application and administration for the 2021 Nature Works Grant. This is something that Director Kemp kind of touched on. We're submitting a grant to replace playground equipment at the Bain Park. The grant will cover 75%, and the rest of the 25% will come out of the rec fund. Director Kemp kind of talked about it when he was here. Does anyone have any other questions on this piece? Okay. Then I'm going to make.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out, it may come out of the rec fund or the permanent improvement fund, depending upon, once we have a little more information on the project.
Oh, okay. That's already in there. I didn't say that. That's correct. Okay. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? Then I'd like to make a motion to put this on second and subsequent third read. Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I'm going to vote yes. And Greg?
Yes.
All right, passes 5-0. Next up, 2137, authorizing bids and contract for Balkan Park connector pathway. This is, we've been awarded the funding, $50,000 for the pathway at Balkan Park that will go from baseball field 5, which is in that southeast corner, and it would connect to the parking lot. It's going to be an asphalt path, just like the rest of the path throughout the park. And this is just to advertise for bids so that the Board of Control can award contracts to the lowest and responsible bidder. Anyone have questions on this one? All right, then I'm going to make a motion that this be on second and subsequent third read. Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I'm going to vote yes. And Greg?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 5-0. Next up, 2138, authorizing sale of obsolete police vehicles by Greater Cleveland Auto Auction. This looks very similar to the piece we just passed with selling off other city cars. There's 6 cars here. Is this very similar to what we just passed, Mary Kay?
Yes, it is. It's
Okay.
very similar. We'll hopefully be able to use the same company in the same manner and move these cars off our property. I turn it over to Mayor Cooney if he has anything to add.
Yes, it is similar, Madam Chair. The plan initially was to trade these vehicles in. Chief Shepherd was dealing with a dealership and subsequently discovered that they were misrepresenting their connection to the state bid qualification. And so that, the plan to trade them in dissipated, which is why these were coming to you now for these vehicles. So we would have, preferred the trade in. If we knew that this option wasn't available, we would have included this in the other legislation that you passed. So, and the chief was not very happy. There was a very underhanded maneuvering by by an employee of this dealership. So, so it was unfortunate that that occurred, and you should be receiving for first read next week legislation to authorize purchase of the vehicles, the new police vehicles.
Great. Any other questions on 2138?
Bridget, if I may.
Sure.
Mayor, is this the facility by the Ford plant, just south of the Ford plant?
No, it was this dealership. They were, I guess they're based out of Indiana, but they were using a PO box, an Ohio PO box. And when they were certified, through the state, and I don't know, I don't have all the details because the chief was dealing with them, but it's not a local outfit. As a result of us not going forward with this original dealership, we're going to be dealing with, I believe, a company out of Van Wert, dealership out of Van Wert that the chief has dealt with in the past, and we've had very good, success with them. So somebody was, wasn't playing fair. They got caught, and now we're just moving on to the next dealership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Then I'm going to make a motion that ordinance 2138 be put on second and subsequent third read. Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I'm going to vote yes. And Greg?
Yes.
Okay, passes 5-0. Next up, 2139. Solid waste fees special assessment for tax year 2022. This was kind of discussed along with Sarah's earlier. Does anyone have any additional questions for Director Single? All right, then I'm going to make a motion that we put this on second read and we return it to committee in case Maureen or Mike have any questions on this. Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I'm going to vote yes. And Greg?
Yes.
Okay, passes 5-0. Next up is 2140, street lighting assessment for tax years 2022 and 2023. This is kind of a standard operating procedure piece of legislation. Does anyone have any questions on it? Okay, then I'm going to make a motion that this be put on second and subsequent third read. Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I'm going to vote yes. Greg?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 5-0. Then for the issue in committee, council chamber security and AV upgrades. I just want to give a kind of a brief summary of a meeting I had last week with Liz, the mayor, Mary Kay, and Chief Shepherd. Once we have more details, we can hold an executive committee meeting so that we can really discuss everything. But just to let you know some of the things that we were discussing. The first off, we discussed that possibly not using the committee room anymore, having all of our meetings in chambers. And any meeting that was going to be in chambers on Monday, move them down to the Dunson room. We talked about reinforcing existing doors, implementing new cameras, not only for the safety, but also for the AV upgrade. Some monitors, so when you enter from the elevator and the steps behind, having you only go then to the right and enter the chamber through the right and kind of blocking off that, but not permanently blocking it off, but like with a cone or something like that. Having first aid kits and an AED installed upstairs. And then for the AV upgrades, we discussed the cameras, and maybe some new wireless mics that would not allow feedback, the ability to continue to live stream, and an ability to keep the recordings. And there would be needed, wiring updates would be needed for some of the AV upgrades. So that's just a real basic what we discussed. Liz and Mary Kay, we're going to get some quotes, and once we get some more specifics and some proposals, we can have an executive meeting where it really can be discussed in detail. And once we have all of the infrastructure in place, we would have a training session with police, kind of going over an ALICE training, and for them to show us all of the exits that are available to us. And that's about it. Mayor or Mary Kay, do you have anything to add to that, or Liz?
If I may, Madam Chair, I know I think we can, as you mentioned, get into more detail later, but I think the chief had some good ideas from a safety standpoint. I know he and his staff have looked at this, and we'll be looking at some other options. And I appreciate the time. In talking this out, we we're able to identify some other things that we can do to improve the building and this public space. I know that we have a number of groups. Hopefully we'll get them back here in the building really soon. We'd like to use the Dunson room, and we'd like to upgrade the technology there so that when people are using that room, they have, it's easier for them to, from a technological standpoint. So thank you for your time. I appreciate Director Costello and the chief's time, as well as Councilmember King and Council Clerk Westbrooks. And we'll just keep the lines of communication open and keep everybody informed as we're moving forward. Thank you.
Liz, do you have anything to add?
I do not. You covered it very well.
Okay, Mary Kay, good.
Comprehensive. Well done. Thank you.
All right. All right. So then I'd like to make a motion that we keep this.
Bridget.
Yeah.
I have an idea.
What's that?
So and this relates to, it's kind of really not security. It's more just like scheduling for all the different city meetings. When you made the comment about moving the committee meetings into the chambers, sounds great. The idea though is rather than move the BZA is really the big conflict. Rather than move them, I've talked to several people on other committees and other people in the departments about changing the days of some of the meetings rather than the location. So, for example, if we change BZA from Mondays to like the first Tuesday of the month or something like that, if they're willing to make that move, it could completely erase the conflict. Because the thing that's not, I don't think that's appealing is that BZA, I mean, we can really never attend a BZA meeting because they're always on Mondays, right? So if they were, there's ones I've wanted to go to and have had a conflict. I mean, and you even know you went to the Rec Commission and the Planning and Design Commission, which were on the same day. And that, I think we could look at, rather than being both the third Thursday, maybe one the second Thursday and then the others. So I guess the idea I would like to get out there is to shift some of the meetings around so none of them are double booked. So if somebody wanted to attend all of them, we would have the ability to do so. So otherwise, everything sounds great.
Are those meetings, we wouldn't need to pass legislation to change day for like BZA meetings, would we?
BZA, well, I was talking with Building Commissioner Manor about this, and to be honest, I can't even remember the specifics of what he said. But the outcome of the conversation, he was asking he would prefer it not to be certain weeks of the month, and then looked into whether we would have to change the local rules on that or not, which I can't remember. But
okay.
he would the details. Mayor?
I do believe legislative action would be necessary.
Okay.
So So with that, if that's something that, council would be interested in, I know I would be, because there's been times I've wanted to go to attend some of these other meetings and haven't been able to.
Sure.
So yeah, that's my only thought.
Bridget,
Yes,
I have a comment.
yes.
I agree with Greg on the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals. I have a very important issue on the docket tonight, and I could not attend, so I sent a letter in support of the applicant. But you mentioned exiting the elevator and going to your right. How do you propose to close off going to your left without getting involved in the safety issue of exiting the building in case of something should happen?
Madam
Yeah, go ahead.
Chair, I think that's something when we have an executive session, we can get into a little more detail about. We did talk with the chief, and he felt comfortable from a code standpoint that everything could be, would be satisfactory. But so I think those are some of the things that when we get together, we can be a little more specific.
Thank you.
And
We
then,
are
and then
allowed- Go ahead.
I'm sorry. And then, with Greg's point, I don't know if that's something that you want to move to a committee or to talk about. We can have the commissioner get us some of these dates. Maybe get a list of all the various commissions and their dates to see where the conflicts are. I know BZA and council committee nights are a conflict. And as Greg mentioned, the rec commission and planning design have conflicts as well.
Okay, that's a good idea. I do know that, or I do believe that we are allowed to continue to meet via Zoom to the end of the year. So we kind of had started this meeting because we want to get everything in place before we do meet in person again. And when we do meet in person, we want to make sure we have the ability to continue to live stream, because we are getting so many people in the community watching this at home or the next day. So we would like to keep that engagement. So and we also want to get started on it because world factors in play, there's a delay in getting many goods. And it's going to, with this latest pipeline, it might even be harder to get things. So we wanted to get the ball moving so that we can hopefully meet in person sooner than later. So I would like to make a motion that we keep this issue in committee. Brian?
Yeah.
Bill?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
I'm going to vote yes, and Greg.
Yes.
Okay, it passes 5-0. The Finance Committee ends at 8:20 p.m.
All right, great job. A lot of topic.
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Sarah. Boards and commissions. Brian, anything to report?
Yes, the Rec Commission will meet next Wednesday, May 19th at the Gemini Center. That's all.
Sarah, anything?
Thank you. Yes. From the school board, I was able to meet last week the new superintendent, Mr. Keith Ahern, and our new treasurer, Rob Showalter, and welcome them to our city. If you are interested in meeting with them, obviously you can reach out to the school district, or I can help connect you with that. But I did want to welcome them to the city.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Bridget, anything?
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Greg, anything?
Nothing. Thank you.
Okay, the Board of Control met this evening, Monday, May 10th at 6:45 via Zoom, discussed two issues. Approval for city turf maintenance services at Balkan, Grannis, Morton, Gemini, in the stadium areas, Bain Cabin, Bain Park, Bain Play Pavilion, and Nelson Russ Park. Wheat Pros products and application were reviewed by Matthew Grandel from our service department, a certified applicator for products on turf, and determined this proposal to be the best interest of the city. Motion to pay Wheat Pros $10,063.75 from the general fund was approved 5-0. Engineering costs for installation of connector trail at Balkan Park. This project will connect the existing walking trail that ends at the 5th baseball diamond to the restroom pavilion area around the perimeter of the park, thanks to a $50,000 grant from the Cuyahoga County Supplemental Grant Program. Estimates for the entire project total $59,746. The project requires design, creating big packages, and contracts by the consultant engineers at McKay Engineering and Surveying Company. Costs for engineering services are $9,300. Motion to pay McKay Engineering and Surveying Company $9,300 from the Park Improvement Fund was approved. Liz, you have anything to add for tonight's meeting?
No, I forwarded everyone the email that I received with the final reminder for the personal finance statement for the state, for the Ethics Commission. So that's, this is just another reminder. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great night, guys.
Have a good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Councilman Minnick, you skipped roundtable. Have a good night.
Talk to you later.